Welcome to Speak Our Mind community podcast, sharing the views and opinions of local residents in Camden.
Hi, good afternoon, Shana. Thank you for coming. It's lovely to have you.
Lovely to be here.
Can you please introduce yourself and your organization and where you're based? And you can talk about your organization, the amazing work that you do.
Right, so my name is also Shanaz. I work as a mental health advocate for Hopscotch, which is a women's organisation based in Camden. Hopscotch is amazing in as much as it offers a complete wraparound service. So it's a unique selling point that Hopscotch has. So we offer things like employability training. We offer the project that I run, which is a mental health advocacy. We also have an older women's service. We have a young girls project. On the side, we also have, not on the side in any way to diminish it, but as a part of Hopscotch, we also have home care, which offers domiciliary care out to the community. We have kind of one up from the basic employability project, which is really looking at women who have lots of different barriers, who are trying to access work. And then what we try and do once we've got them into the employability project is to move them onto the better employment project, which takes them out of maybe those sort of more base jobs into something that is better employment, to push them out and not leave them in that lower bracket.
Amazing.
So that's probably all the projects that we run.
That sounds really, really amazing, especially on mental health support. What work exactly, you Hopscotch is providing?
So one of the things that I think we're very good at is noticing where the gaps are and bridging those gaps. And we work really hard at looking through the work we've done in previous projects as to what those gaps might be. So I have also worked and still do a little bit of work within the employability project. And what we notice time and time again is a need for mental health support within these projects. So we'd get women service users coming in, and yes, they wanted training and they wanted ESOL and they were looking to break into the job market, but they also had mental ill health issues that needed tackling, and often it was difficult to move them into thinking about training or work when the immediate need was mental health support. And this is a complicated arena, as you well know, in as much as often these women don't know that they can go to their GPs and that they would have support from their GPs. So they end up not talking about it. Yeah. A lot of these things, and we've had this conversation often, are taboo. Yes. We don't talk about them. Yeah. Mental health is a very stigmatized term in the South Asian community. So what we saw were these needs that kept coming up. And as such, Hopscotch identified this gap, applied for funding, and created the role that I am privileged enough to be able to be in at the moment, which is the mental health advocacy. So we now have a separate project where if someone comes in to see our welfare advisor, and that's the project that I missed mentioning in the beginning, there's also a welfare advice support service that Hopscotch offers. But let's say somebody goes there, or the domestic violence support, two key supports I wanted to mention. They've gone into the DV support, they've gone to see a welfare advisor, they've come in to see us for employment training, or the young girls group, or the older women's group. But actually, the need that needs addressing first of all is mental ill health. They now have somewhere where they can be referred internally.
That's amazing. Yeah. That sounds really amazing, because we've been interviewing service users, Camden residents, and every time it came up again and again, how do we access the services? So you have welfare advisors and domestic violence workers there. If they come to you, then they automatically can access the mental health service as well, support service as well.
Yes. I mean, the more there are domestic violence, domestic abuses, is a specialised service, as is the welfare advice, as are all the others. But sometimes within these, if the need is such that it needs the domestic violence team to tackle the situation, then that's where they would go. But if maybe at the other end of that, there's some emotional support and well-being that needs attending to, then I would be able to fulfill that function.
So that sounds amazing. But if anybody, just a Camden resident, felt like they needed somewhere to go, they're feeling isolated or anxious, instead of going to the GP surgery, can they come to you or directly?
They can self-refer, which is what you're touching on.
Yes.
So yes, we get phone calls from women directly who might have found our service online, and they'll call in and just say, I'm so and so, this is my situation. Do I need to have a doctor's referral?
Okay.
They'll say, no, you can come in.
See, that sounds, because sometimes getting a doctor's referral it's when you're going through mental health issues, it's hard.
Sure.
It's a simple procedure. Doctors would refer. Their GPs are doing an amazing work as well. But it's for the person who is actually suffering from depression or mental health, for them to actually call up and waiting for the referral. I think it sometimes becomes difficult. So it's nice to know that they can just self-refer.
Yeah.
But does enough people know about your service that you're providing? I know because I know quite a lot of people who, but there's other people in Camden. Is it well known? How do you advertise more? How do you know?
Sure. So.
Yeah. So go on. You can explain.
You do.
So you're just asking about how we're becoming more, or how we make ourselves visible. So one of the key things that I know the CEO Benaifa at Hopscotch has worked really hard on is to revamp the website. So we have an amazing new website now. We are also much more visible on social media. Within my role, and I know that the other projects also, the thrust is to create links with other organisations, and so we actively are involved in that, linking, connecting, collaborating, working together, because really, the only way that our services function in the most excellent way that they can function is by having conversations with other organisations, so that we can offer our service users the most holistic, the most comprehensive service possible.
Sounds amazing. It all sounds amazing, honestly. That comes to our next question. So what challenges does your organizations face? Is there any challenges for
yeah. You know exactly what I'm going to say. I think the challenge that Hopscotch has, and the challenges that other organizations face, are usually around I'd say a couple of things. I'd say funding is our main one, which is no great surprise. And I know that the head of programs, Isabel, works tirelessly to try to continuously look for different pots of money to be able to provide our service users the kind of services that they need. And the other one would...
Thanks for listening. Stay tuned for more episodes of Speak Our Minds podcast. Welcome to Speak Our Mind community podcast, sharing the views and opinions of local residents in Camden.
Things that we work really hard on.
Yeah, I think it's for every organisation, isn't it?
I think so. Funding, yeah. I mean, it's a constant conversation that we have, and with COVID, the needs have changed. We've all had to adapt how we work. There's been this drive to work from home, to be safe.
Yes.
And during it, one of the things that Hopscotch didn't do is to close. So we remained open throughout all of last year. So all of Hopscotch continued to function.
Wow.
Home care were on site, and theirs is that kind of care that can't stop, because they need to get out to people who need to be looked after in their homes. Equally, the work that we were doing, for example, in the employability project and the other projects, we did from home. So it was quite a shift, quite a challenge for us and for our service users to start to offer sessions, group sessions, one-to-one sessions online. So we had to have sessions around how to use the different technologies, how to use Microsoft Teams, how to use Zoom. So that was interesting. But I think we rose to the challenge well, and what we did not experience is a drop in our service users. So we managed to maintain that and continue to look after the women that needed us.
I think when it came to technologies, we had to teach, because I was, during COVID, I was working with an organization as well. We had to teach things simple as how to use WhatsApp messages, how to leave voice messages.
Right. Yeah.
And I think it's a whole new world.
Yeah.
So,
There's many things that we just take for granted,
Yes.
like sending a photograph, a picture of something on WhatsApp.
yes.
But that doesn't mean to say that it's the same for everyone.
Everyone,
else. And
it's
trying
not.
to sometimes do that over a phone call before you even get to video platforms like Zoom and Teams and others was a challenge. But it's also one of those things that certainly the women that we've worked with and that I've worked with personally soon picked up, because there was a desire to connect. COVID was incredibly isolating in amongst many other things. We ran a stress management session, and the idea was just to run one just every now and then. The feedback that we got from that one session was that from the women was that, look, you know, what this has shown is that we need other women to talk to who are in similar situations. And we talked about, within that one session, we discussed what that isolation did and what it felt like. Later we had requests from some of the women asking for phone numbers of the others to be able to connect up, and at least to have at that time those physically distant walks together in the park, so that there was some conversation, some company. Really important. So we began to run those stress management sessions more regularly in order to facilitate that need. So when you talk about bridging gaps, that's something that we've mentioned before.
Yes.
This is where I think Hopscotch is just incredible. Like being able to see, well, look, here's the gap, what can we do? And it means we have to think on the spot, we have to be creative in the way that we work, and we work with people.
Yes.
These are constantly changing needs, so we've got to be able to respond. And I think we do it really well without blowing the trumpet for Hopscotch. The work is so good.
No, it sounds actually, because the whole point, the topic which we are talking about today is bridging the gap.
Absolutely.
And it sounds like the Hopscotch is doing everything to bridge the gap.
Yeah.
And it's actually really hopeful and nice to know for the residents, for the service users, for the people who actually needs the service. So it actually brings us to our last question. I think you've covered that, about different modern ways to embrace technology, and you've talked about technology because you've trained people. So is there anything else would you like to say on?
I think that it's a real privilege to work for Hopscotch because it is such a responsive organisation, such a responsive charity. Right now, I know that there are staff members who are working directly with the refugees who are here within Camden.
Nice.
We are the lead charity for the refugee situation within Camden, and that, if nothing else, shows how responsive Hopscotch is, and also how we benefit from having a senior management team who are always looking at the much bigger picture within our individual projects. So within my mental health advocacy project, I'm working one-to-one and with some groups shortly as well, as we were talking about. And one can get focused on that one-to-one interaction with a service user, and then you pull out a little bit, and I might look at my project with a bit more distance. And what's important is that there's somebody at the helm of the charity who's looking at the much bigger picture, and seeing what's going on and being able to respond to those needs. And I think that's what Hopscotch does really well.
It actually sounds really good. I know some of the other organizations are working with trying to help the Afghan refugees. So there is a project actually happening right now at Castle Haven Community Centre.
Yes.
So helping, it's a therapeutic gardening project, because I can't imagine how they feel staying in one hotel room So it's a little bit of space for the refugees to come, spend time, do something therapeutic, and I think it would really benefit their mental health.
Yes.
So
Yeah, and the way that you described it to me previously is that obviously it's a community initiative.
yes,
So it's a space for the Afghani refugees to be
Yes.
able to be outside,
yes,
and connecting with something that's very grounding.
Yes,
The soil,
yes,
the earth,
exactly.
planting,
And-
growing. That in itself is such a creative process, and I'm sure healing on levels
Healing.
that maybe
Yes.
we're not obviously immediately conscious of.
Yes.
It's also a space to meet others, to talk, to chat, and if there are the community members there,
Yes.
then there's that possibility for the community to start to welcome and help to integrate the
Afghani refugees.
Yeah,
So
I
I
think it's an amazing initiative.
So I think we do have quite, great services running in Camden. We just have to talk about it and let the resident or Camden service, service users know that yes, there are services available. It's just how to. But your service is easy to access, so there's no criteria that they have to meet. Or it's only female.
Sure. Yeah. It's a women's charity.
Women's charity, yeah. But other than that, there's no other criteria if they want to join in.
Some of the projects might require.
So depending on the
It
project.
depends on the project, so maybe over 16.
Oh,
Something like that, or if we're looking at specific projects like the employability one, that will have
Yes,
some criteria, and the others, no, absolutely not, no.
the world sounds really amazing. Is there anything else that you like to talk about?
No, I think you've covered lots in your questions. Thank you so much, Shanaz.
Thank you very much. So thank you very much, and I'm
Thank
Shanaz
you.
Ahmed. And you're Shanaz Akhtar.
Thanks for listening. Stay tuned for more episodes of Speak Our Minds podcast.